What if I told you that the most famous writer in the English language came from a small town, had an ordinary family, and lived over 400 years ago, yet his words still shape our world today? This is the true life story of William Shakespeare, the man whose stories refuse to die. Early life, a boy from Stratford. William Shakespeare was born in April 1564 in a small English town called Stratford-upon-Avon. His exact birth date is unknown, but records show he was baptized on April 26, 1564, and at that time, babies were usually baptized 3 days after birth. So historians believe he was born on April 23rd, a date now celebrated worldwide. His father, John Shakespeare, was a glove maker and a local official, while his mother, Mary Arden, came from a respected farming family. This meant William grew up in a home that was comfortable, though not rich. As a child, Shakespeare likely attended the local grammar school, where he studied Latin, Greek, history, poetry, and classical literature. He did not go to university, which makes his later success even more remarkable. Marriage and family life. At just 18 years old, William Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years older than him. Soon after, they had their first child, Susanna, followed by twins, Hamnet and Judith, in 1585. Tragically, Hamnet died at the age of 11. Many scholars believe this loss deeply affected Shakespeare and may have influenced the sad tone of plays like Hamlet and King Lear. The Lost Years, a mystery. Between 1585 and 1592, there is little historical record of Shakespeare's life. These years are often called the Lost Years. Some believe he worked as a teacher. Others say he joined a traveling theater group. While we don't know the truth, one thing is clear. When Shakespeare reappeared, he was already a skilled writer and actor. Rise in London, becoming Shakespeare. By 1592, Shakespeare was living in London, working as an actor and playwright. At that time, theater was not considered respectable, but it was extremely popular. He joined a famous acting group called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which later became the King's Men when King James I came to the throne. This royal support helped Shakespeare gain fame and financial success. Shakespeare did not just write plays, he performed in them, invested in theaters, and helped manage his company. The Globe Theatre and Great Works. In 1599, Shakespeare and his company built the legendary Globe Theatre. This is where many of his greatest plays were performed. Over his career, Shakespeare wrote about 39 plays, 154 sonnets, and several long poems. His works are usually grouped into 3 categories. Comedies, like A Midsummer Night's Dream and The Merchant of Venice. Tragedies, like Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello. Histories, like Henry V and Richard III. His plays explored love, power, jealousy, ambition, betrayal, time, and human nature, themes that are still relevant today. Why Shakespeare was different. What made Shakespeare special was not just his stories, but his language. He invented or popularized over 1,700 English words, including lonely, excitement, generous, and bedroom. He also created expressions we still use today, such as break the ice, all that glitters is not gold, wild goose chase. Shakespeare understood people deeply. His characters felt real, full of emotion, confusion, hope, and fear. Fame during his lifetime. Unlike many artists, Shakespeare was famous while he was alive. His plays were performed for ordinary people and for kings and queens. He became wealthy enough to buy a large house in Stratford called New Place. Despite his fame, Shakespeare remained a private man. He rarely spoke about himself, and most of what we know comes from official records. Final years and death. Around 1613, Shakespeare retired and returned to Stratford-upon-Avon to live a quiet life. He spent his final years with his family. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, at the age of 52. He was buried in Holy Trinity Church in Stratford. On his grave is a famous warning, believed to be written by Shakespeare himself, asking people not to disturb his bones. Legacy: immortal words. After his death, Shakespeare's friends published his plays in 1623, known as the First Folio. Without this book, many of his plays would have been lost forever. Today, Shakespeare is studied in schools, performed on stages, adapted into movies, and quoted across the world. His works have been translated into hundreds of languages. William Shakespeare was not born a legend. He became one through curiosity, discipline, imagination, and deep understanding of human life. 400 years later, his words still speak. And as long as humans feel love, fear, ambition, and hope, Shakespeare will never die.